Transformational Voyage of the Academic Consciousness, Noctambulist-Awakening-Freedom of Wisdom States. A recorded version of this webinar will be available on YouTube. And before we begin this seminar, I would also like to express my thanks to all of you who participate to this seminar. Duygu, would you please so kind to read the short biography of Professor Atila Yüksel?
Of course. Hello, everyone. Before start to our seminar meeting, please let me introduce you our guest here, Professor Yüksel. According to his short biography, he graduated from Yaşar Üniversitesi in 1992 from the Department of Tourism and Hotel Management. Then he completed his MA in Tourism Management at University of Wales, Cardiff. And lastly, he received his PhD degree in 2000 from Sheffield Hallam University from the Department of Leisure and Food Management. Professor Yüksel is currently working in the Department of Food and Beverage Management at Adnan Menderes University. He has published several papers in distinguished journals, and his research areas include tourism, tourism marketing, tourism planning, and hotel management. At the end of his presentation, we will also have question and answer session. I would like to say welcome, dear Professor Yüksel. Stage is yours. We are looking forward to your talk. Thank you in advance.
Many thanks, Duygu, for the kind introduction, and Gözde for the kind invitation. It's more than an honor to be here before you. Actually, the long title is really long, but I'll give you a short version of that title. And the questioning is the thing that you have to take is like the questions as homework, okay, or the home lesson. Are we academicians or mimticians? This is the short version of the title. And are we going through a kind of a metamorphosis? This is the topic that I'll be trying to cover today. I was told that I'm not bound by time, so I can take the whole afternoon if you don't mind, but I'll try to stop it around an hour and a half, hopefully. If you have any questions, please do not wait till the end of the session. You can unfortunately write, and Duygu can warn me whether there is any, if you don't mind, okay, any questions so that we can answer.
Okay.
The idea is actually I have done quite a high number of publishing, but frankly, whether these publications are of any beneficial, I have doubts. So I did stop publishing in the mainstream sense or the traditional sense for a while because I have questions, and yet I'm not very much content with the answers that I have figured out up until now. Today's topic is quite important because I've been working on this topic introspectively, of course, for quite some time. I did stop collecting quantitative data back in 2015 because I have serious doubts about it. And since then, I haven't been publishing any manuscript based on analysis or the study of quantitative data. But since 2015, I've been thinking, observing myself, kind of a period which I call heuristic. So it's kind of a self-inquiry. And for the past 6 years, what I'm trying to do is to bring my conscious to the attention of my own conscious. So I'm just observing myself, trying to see whether there is an evolution in terms of my consciousness, whether I cross through any states of consciousness, and whether my perspective about doing research, how to do it, or how to experience it, or how to process it, changes anyhow. And the reasons I'll be listing is quite a number of things there are in that list. But today, it's kind of a personal experience of myself, but also this personal experience is including kind of observations as well. Before starting the, we are required to collect the empiric data. The empiric data is very questionable because it's questionable because we are paying respect in terms of empirical data of those people that we ask questions and vice versa. So we take those answers, responses, views, opinions, whatever, as empiric data. But my challenge here is that, dear audience, the real empiric data, I guess, is the person himself. So I see myself as the empirical data. So it is, again, in line with this heuristic research psychology, maybe, or the introspective looking at it. But nevertheless, I will try to draw your attention to the current state of social sciences that we are in right now. And I like to continue drawing your attention to the awaiting questions. Again, the basic question is, are we academicians? Are we mimeticians? Are we technicians? What are we? And again, another very crucial and essential question that I'll be asking is, it's not asking to you, it's an asking to myself. Okay, do not get me wrong. Are we confusing pleasure with joy? Because what I see is that despite the growing number of publications that we have, we are still very discontent. So we are living in an era of joyless pleasures. And then I'll move on to the consequences from my point of view. I'm not disparaging anyone. Do not take me wrong. Okay, this is not a kind of a verified and testified thing. This is a kind of a judgment that I have reached over these 6 years. And who is guilty? The mind? Is it the mind that we have? Because the current state of mind is dealing with and paying extra attention on to have instead of to be. So I'll try to make this difference between to have and to be a bit more clearer. Okay, so I think the guilty, if we are looking for any guilty, the guilt will be in the mindset that we are pursuing during these very difficult days. And also I'll try to look into the difference between knowledge, to have knowledge, and to know. Is there a difference between two? And also, again, to reiterate myself, I'll be looking into to have and to be. I'm not into to be or not to be. It's a very difficult discussion that I can handle. But to have and to be, I think I can manage that. And I don't know, I did ask Özge the profile of the audience, and I think the majority are the postgraduate students. And the question that I have for them is, what does that PhD stand for? I want their answers. Okay, this is the only question that I have. An answer, then I'm waiting an immediate answer today. I have, of course, thousands of questions, but you don't necessarily have to feel that you need to answer them right now. Then I'll be talking about, is everything okay? Then are we becoming a scholar after we gain PhD? Or is there an invisible couch that we still attend till the end of day that we work. It's including the retirement, maybe, I don't know. And the memes, which are very important, but under-noticed, I'll be covering them. And also the suppressed consciousness, or some may call this false consciousness, or some may call it a complacent consciousness. I'll be trying to shed light on that one. And the coming to consciousness, or bringing something into your consciousness, and the transformation will be the next topic of the session. And the future, I'll be ending with the future prospects in research. The home lesson, again, I should repeat myself here. The home lesson, or the message, the main message that we have to take from this kind of session in this nature, that we need to be conscious about the state of consciousness that we are in. We have asked too many questions about too many concepts, constructs, and what have you, but rarely have we focused on the state of consciousness that we are in, and its probable impacts on what we do, how we do, and why we do. Is it clear, Duygu? So shall we continue with this? Okay. The current state is, from my point of view again, of course, people may have different ideas about the current position of social science. Some, including tourism within social science, some view tourism as a distinct discipline. Others are really arguing against it. But anyway, when I say social science, please do bear in mind that I'm trying to address actually the tourism as an interdisciplinary area. Okay, so there is a growing criticism, and social sciences are going through hard times, really. There are too many anecdotal and also empirical evidence coming all from all different corners of the world, from England, from Australia, from Turkey, from India, from the United States. Too many. I cannot give you the exact number, but I think I have read more than over 3 dozens of recent studies trying to address this crisis. And what is telling us the current state is very simple. The social science as an area maybe is not at a good state as we think. Okay, so for example, these reports are clearly indicating that the half-life of academics has shortened dramatically. And the young scientists, which the future depends on, are leaving academia at an unprecedented rate. This is really important. And where the dropout rates from academia is alarming. Almost 45% of all PhD candidates in Australia are about to give up their research if they find anything better in terms of job. And also this figure is from, if I'm not mistaken, from the United Kingdom. Approximately 55% of PhD holders leave scientific careers. This is really gross. And only 0.4% of the PhD holders go on to become professors. Of course, this figure cannot be comparable with Turkey because everyone is born professor in Turkey. So this is rather different from where we really look into. And the problem is not only with young scientists, the neo-PTs or the novice researchers or the infants, but the problem is still applicable to professors as well. One study shows that around 40% of the professors consider to leave their position. This is, again, alarming. The level of anxiety is reaching up to approximately 90% among PhD students. And a recent report shows that the young academics are like 2 times likely to suffer from mental health problems. They are on drugs. And to be honest with you, I've been in academia since 1994, I guess. Staying sane in the face of repeated rejections, peer hostility, mobbing, imposter syndrome, or burnout is almost impossible. In addition to these issues, we have other very critical and extremely important signs of crisis. Most papers, even if they end up in excellent journals, they are the papers that are little read or quoted only by peers, little read by companies or by professionals or by students. So this brings the question of what the heck we need to publish if no one is reading it. And even if it's published, we have other problems and troubles. For example, one study has shown that only 20% of the citers do read the original manuscript. They blindside. This is outrageous. And I think this figure is shocking. Almost, I think it was back in 2015, the research that revealed was quite intriguing, really. The 88% of the published articles, I say the published articles, receive no citation at all. So only like 1 in 10 continues its life alive. The others are dead. Of course, there is this sleeping beauty syndrome, an article which may not receiving a citation for 10 years may start to receive citation after those 10 sleeping years. I'm not trying to make a comparison in terms of sleeping beauty syndrome, but what I'm saying is that there is much more concern, greater concern than what I have said so far is this: the false finding in social science may be the majority. It is approximately, it's the claim, it is like 95% of the published material are questionable, according to the authors that they have done. And we have another crisis. Sorry, guys. We have another crisis, which is called replication crisis. Because as many studies, there are many and many studies fail to be replicated. And as a result of this, the majority of researchers cautious about believing in what they are reading. And they say that there is a growing warning that even studies that are published in the top journals should be taken with a grain of salt until they are replicated. Actually, the majority of publications are being criticized as they are premature. They have the initial findings, not the final effect. Because if you look at Aristotle, there are 4 types of effects, and we are not dealing with the final effect. We are only dealing with the third in series. And also, there's one another thing that I have to be mentioning is like 47%, I guess the figure was, of academics in German universities, and including professors, have admitted that they have formed their hypothesis after evaluating their data. Can you imagine this? This is really bizarre. The social science, let me cut it short, okay? The social science have become a hindrance instead of a help. And it has been accused of being partly guilty for the development of all our current global problems. As it is, from my point of view, social sciences, whether you include tourism or not, but the social sciences suffer from a neurosis, as the academic inquiry has dissociated itself from a more fundamental concern to help resolve problems of living. Based on the present conditions that I've been trying to analyze here, there is an increasing call for responsible research, that is, to make possible science with and for society. And indeed, I believe social sciences are, in a way, likely to undergo a painful period of introspection in order to emerge stronger than before. I mean, are we really, I'm happy to continue this path of scavenging time to meet never-ending research output demands? Are we really happy with that? Or at what point will we feel like we have done enough? Like a sheep walking to, I don't know, the slaughterhouse, are we being sucked into the academic whirlpool? What does it take to survive in this world, the academic world? What forms of research and writing should be pursued? Is this struggle, very crucial question, is this struggle worth it? Will we be finally free? And there are many other questions that I can ask, and you may take your time to ponder over them. Like, why are we so ambitious and tenacious, care only about where we do publish, social science citation index, edit, or whatever the prestigious journals? Why do we do that? And seek external approval. And also, from where you look at it, are all phenomena of similar nature? Can different types of phenomena be studied identically? Or how come one claims to have reached conclusive results when everything related to human nature is living, inconclusive, and in permanent transformation? And this question is has been asked by Einstein, and I do defend that question. Do we believe that problems that exist in the world today can be solved by the level of thinking that created them in the first place? How come we are 100% confident about the methods that we are using? These are like, do you think that the study of contemporary subject matter through the outdated and aging lenses, maybe 100 years old, frameworks of the mainstream research designed to foster business growth only, does it make any sense? Is there only business perspective in the world? Is there a research economy? And are we the workers of that economy by producing publications? And again, these are maybe, these may sound like philosophical questions. No, I don't think so. They are philosophical questions. They are at the very root of practical questions. And one of the questions is really, especially in social science, relates to, do we really think that there is a socially universal rule that encapsulates the subject matter? And also, what does it mean, for example, to live with a critical eye? We all have a critical eye, an eye that is always assessing, always deciding questions of worth, always saying what is good or what is bad, what does it mean to judge others? What does it mean to say someone else does not measure up? What does it mean? Can we inquire? Let's be honest. We are bound by time. We are bound by institutions. We are bound by, pressed by, I don't know how you phrased it, but we are restricted by the demands of something outside. And this demands us, like, can we really inquire what we really want to inquire? Can we really read what we really want to read? Or when we want to read it? Or can we make any comment without fear or real or anticipated recriminations? Can we do that? We can't. So what is the freedom of science? The science dwells on freedom. The fertile ground for the science is freedom. But thus far, for example, this is an important figure that will back me up. For example, the science progresses on suspicion, isn't it? The basic ingredient of science is the elimination of that suspicion. But when you look at the citation behavior of us, only just 2% 4-point do negative citation. That means they do disagree with what the others are saying. So there is 96% of consistency with what we think and what the others are thinking. Can science progress this way? I don't think so. And another crucial question, sorry, there are questions, rules the world, not the answers. This is my opinion. The question rules the life, not the answers. Everything starts with a good question. Okay? So another question that I have is how much of knowledge do we think that really originated from us? Or are we borrowing that knowledge from someone else? And another important question, and this is an observation from, hi Özge, save them. Another really intriguing question that I think we have to be thinking about is, are we academicians or are we intellectual tourists who tend to ask more than to give? Look at your own research practices, please. Do you share your findings? Do you share your reports? Do you share your recommendations with those who are being researched? Nope. Nope, I didn't do it. I didn't do it, to be honest with you. But I thought, and I have come to a realization that this is not humane. This is wrong. And this has to be changed. Why are we doing publications? Is it because of career concerns? Is it because of science? Or is it because of the change that we wanted to make in society, wherever we are? To be honest, the majority of my life was like dedicated to the career interest. And I'm sure there are too many colleagues sharing the similar views that I have. What are we now? And who we will become? And the burning question is this one, I guess. Do we put the guest for glory, vanity, reputation, or getting credits higher than science. Is there any question or is there an answer what the real research inquiry is, what it means to be an influential scholar and under the shadow of many orthodox precepts, rules, traditions? I don't know. It's the research world is very polarized, and there are really competing ideologies, and there is this institutional demand, and this brings us to the question of, does more equal better? Does more publication means better? I wish you could answer this question, but you are being saved by this technical problem. We are not able to do it in face-to-face. I don't know whether, have you ever heard of Metonic laws or Metonic principles of science? It's the short version is being called like kudos, starting with C, kudos, okay? That means communalism, universalism, disinterestedness, originality, skepticism, and there is a word in English as well, which is written with K, kudos, and the kudos means fame and vanity. So it's been replaced with the pseudos. And from my point of view, what I'm thinking is, I know I'm not going to change the world. I'm not after of that. What I'm after of is I have to change myself as it is inevitable. So in this process, what I did realize was that so far in the area, we have studied and analyzed I don't know how many thousands of different subject matters. But then I realized that we have seldom considered ourselves as researchers, being as a matter of research. We haven't laid becoming a scholar on the table. So only maybe recently, the academia and academic journey have started to receive attention as a distinct area of research. But again, the focus is missing on being. The focus is largely on how to have it. But being and becoming are missing. From my point of view, I might be wrong. And much of the previous research on academic development has focused on PhD. Again, I am asking my friends who are listening to right now, what does PhD stand for? Is it Doctor of Philosophy?
Yeah.
Is it Doctor of Positivism? Is it Doctor of Phenomenology? The philosophy is not there. I'm sorry. Look at the research methods books. There is no philosophy. There is always these technical things, how to do research, how to publish. I don't know, maybe over 100 webinars I have attended to as a listener, how to make publication in social science citation index journals. And what I see in my career that there is this tradition which is like very frequently voiced is, if you do not publish, you perish, isn't it? Publish or perish. But my suggestion is you can perish by publishing. And the real intent and the real effort, I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't be publishing. Of course you have to publish. But what I'm suggesting is that you shouldn't be publishing premature articles for the score of publications. Instead, you have to publish something which is a masterpiece. Without that masterpiece, you will be forgotten for long. So, for example, if there are any PhD candidates among us within the audience, I want you to answer, if you can, of course, if you want to, no forcing. What is your ideal? What's your aspiration? What's your academic passion? What's your ontological longing? And what's the ideal? Do you want to make a difference? Do you want to make engage in a meaningful research endeavor? Become a prolific and renowned scholar? Do you want, or are you after of intellectual growth? Or are you after of personal development? What is the relation between doing research and personal development? I have experienced this. There is more relation than the eye can see, indeed. What happens following the completion of PhD? Why some continue as researchers? Why the others do not? Some researchers after PhD will continue to develop professionally, while others get stuck or retreat. But who? Some manage to create value, meaning, or meaningfulness in research endeavors. But how? Some will live or experience profound changes, critical moments, U-turns, shifting their research perspectives. But when? And some will practice some specific research approaches more than the other approaches. But why? Why some researchers practice and, why some research practices, sorry about that, for example, positivism or the techniques like questionnaires or quantitative ones or qualitative ones spread and become dominant while others do not. These questions need to receive a comprehensive attention. For example, I'll take you through a traditional example of how to do a research with this suppressed consciousness that we are being taught during PhD, in generally speaking, of course. Do not get offended, okay? For example, assume yourself, it's an hypothetical scenario, right? Assume yourself you are a maths lecturer at a university. You are young, and after the semester or 2 semesters, what you have noticed is that there are students, only a few of them are succeeding maths, and there are students, the majority are failing the maths and the exams. So with the tradition and with the PhD and with whatever you have learned and we have learned, I guess, again, this is only a guess, if we are really keen to pay an interest, what gives rise to this consequence, we are going to look at some, I don't know, variables between the successful and unsuccessful students. And we are going to go back to the literature and read as many manuscripts on, I don't know, what defines successful students and the variables being studied in the previous studies. And then what we are going to do is, if we are lucky, we may find a theoretical foundation, but the majority will be confusing conceptual framework with the theoretical framework. Anyway, I'm not getting into that one. Okay, let's assume that we have, we think that we have found or identified reasons. And what we do is we change or we develop a hypothesis. for the relationship between these variables and the dependent variable of success. But at the end of the day, let's see, okay, we did really a very careful literature review. We did really a careful question development. We did pretest them. We may take a qualitative study and use interviews instead, of course. I'm not against that, because there are only two ways of doing research. And this is what I cannot understand really. Other than two, there aren't any ways. You either conduct an inquiry through quantitative look, or you either conduct an inquiry through a quantitative look. Anyway, let's resume with this quantitative perspective. When we develop our hypothesis, let's say that their IQ, the level of IQ, and their success on maths are related. So we are going to test this in this research. And there are 4 or 5 more variables that we are testing. But at the end of the day, imagine the results revealed no difference between the successful students who are succeeding the math tests or exams and failing students. There aren't any differences, or statistically, they love saying the statistically important differences. So what's the judgment that we are going to reach there? Most probably, if we believe that there should be a difference, then we are going to play with the data until we find a significant difference. Or we may replicate the study, renew it, and do with another, I don't know, 100, 200, 500 samples of students. But at the end of the day, no matter how many studies that you conduct, the results will give you no difference. Then what are you going to say? Most probably, the judgment will be like this. There is no difference between IQ and the maths. But believe it or not, there are 2 possibilities, false positive and false negative. You have to be very careful about committing false positive or false negative. So you have to change your way of looking at things. For example, there's this, I don't know, I think this study was done back in Berkeley University, and the guy who was very interested in why successful students are successful and unsuccessful students are failing. So he did move into the dormitory of the students and did spend like 18 months with them. What I'm saying is that if you insist on quantitative research, and after, I don't know how many times you have carried out, and you reach the conclusion that there is no difference, but if you take another perspective or another research approach, you may not reach the same conclusion. And this guy has found that the way you study, alone or with others, makes the difference. So, look, what is the research? What is the purpose of conducting a research? Is it finding an answer or confirming yourself to what you believe? That I believe that there is a relation between IQ and the results gained from maths exam. Okay, this is the result. But what the research should be after? It should be after the solution. So this guy has developed a specific methodology for studying maths, and it's all around the world and helping, I don't know how many thousands or 100,000s of students in their pursuit of understanding maths. Because when you work alone to the math, and when the problem is very, very, very difficult, you give up, you surrender. You even tell yourself that you are stupid. You don't understand. I don't understand maths. I'm okay. I'm closing this But when you work with the others in a group, you see and you observe that there are others like yourself. They don't understand maths, but they have different perspectives. See what I mean? I mean, if you take only quantitative or qualitative research being done, interviewed with students in classes or at schools, you miss the point. Is it a good example, Duygu? Okay. So what I'm saying is that we need to recognize the origin of our ill-being. My argument here is that we have ignored the process of becoming and consider it only from technical point of view. This is the mistake that we are committing at the moment. And who is guilty? The education institutions are the guilty, from my point of view. The knowledge, knowing, having, and being. How should I say it? I have knowledge and I know. Having knowledge is taking and keeping possession of available knowledge or information. Not all information means knowledge. You have to transform it into knowledge, the information, by cross-checking it. And knowing, on the other hand, is somewhat functional and serves only as a means in the process of productive thinking. There are different styles of thinking. The thinking style that we have inherited so far is possessive thinking. It is not processing thinking or productive thinking. For example, you may learn German, you can read German, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you understand what you read. Knowing means something else. Learning does not necessarily mean that you acquire it. You just learn to remember. You don't acquire it. Acquisition is different from learning. So knowing begins with the awareness of the deceptiveness of our common sense perceptions, in the sense that our picture of physical reality does not correspond to what is really real. And most people, I am including myself, half awake, half dreaming, and are unaware that most of what they hold to be true and self-evident is illusion produced by suggestive influence of the social world or the outer world which they live. Knowing begins with shattering of illusions, with disillusionment, of course. And knowing means, the word penetrate is really important here. Knowing means to penetrate through the surface. Knowing means to penetrate through the surface in order to arrive at the roots and hence causes. Knowing means to see the reality in its nakedness. But we stop researching prematurely and at the very superficial level. We do not dive into the deeper layers of what we need to know. Knowing does not mean to be in possession of the truth. This is another thing that I disagree. It means to penetrate again the surface, to strive critically and activate in order to approach truth ever more closely. And I don't know whether there is a single truth, one-dimensional truth. The truth can be multidimensional. And I don't know, are you familiar with the concept of self-knowledge of Freud. It is based on the idea of destroying illusions, or the rationalizations, they call it, in order to become aware of the unconscious reality. Guys, dear friends, my colleagues, academic development cannot be attained through adjustment skills alone. What we are teaching is the adjustment skills. That is, we are trying to produce a well-functioning member in the academic society through this, the curriculums in PhD educations. Again, here, I think that the ability to research, is more than the sum of knowledge and competencies, or I don't know, an understanding of disciplinary materials. I think it is linked to one's ability in finding purpose in life and actualizing the self and transforming the consciousness for personal growth and the self-autonomy. It is, we are not total machines, we are human beings. And human nature is not static or finite. With the PhD, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, I don't know the average of time spent for gaining a PhD degree in Turkey, but it is around, I guess, 5 years. This is just a guess. I'm sure they are shorter or longer. New level of researcher's self, who has a new way of thinking and perceiving, eventually emerges. I accept that. But studies show that you can live with PhD for more or less 10 years. What's going to be next after 10 years? You can rely on what you have learned, and it becomes like very difficult to argue me, but it takes at least 10 years to become competent in one area. So with the baggage that you carry from the PhD, you can only manage for more or less 10 years. Then next, what's going to be happening the next? Again, the crucial question here is turning from a PhD student into a scholar or a researcher. Do we teach this? No. I liken this to an open system constantly evolving, which proceeds by quantum jumps from one steady state to the next. Really, it is like, I don't know, within my past career, I did have experience too many stressful events. I'm sure Gökçe has already experienced that stressful moments. And I have also lived too many aha moments that I did understand the reason why this happened to me. And then I became thankful to those stressful events because they are the turning points of becoming. Unless, but it depends, sorry, they may help you to transform yourself unless you reflect on them. The rumination or reflection, thinking over, I don't know how you phrase this, but that's the period. Seclusion is the period that, or reclusion is the period that you have to take these, I don't know, really disappointing or really demoralizing events as scaffolding events for you to move in your academic journey. And what I'm saying is that becoming a scholar is simply a self-fulfillment process. It involves not only acquisition of technical knowledge and expertise to fulfill a research inquiry, but also identifying yourself with what you do. For example, It is really strikes me, it's like, for example, I have met a colleague of mine who is publishing 25 articles per year. And the guy was studying on life happiness. So can you imagine 25 articles? He is the top. He is receiving citations over citations over citations. He is the top. That means 2 articles per month, isn't it? I'm not saying the preparation of these articles, the thinking time and everything, but he manages, I don't know how to do it, but he manages to publish 25 articles on life happiness, but he's not happy. If you are studying life happiness, so you should be knowing what is happiness, but you do not bring that happiness into your life. How come? What I'm saying is, there are, for example, cases in literature. For example, one guy. How would you study loneliness? How would you study it? Again, the traditional mind will guide you step by step, right? But this guy deprived himself of from everything for more than, I guess, 4 years to sense that loneliness. What does it really mean? It's not through reading. It's not through listening. It is through sensing, living, experiencing. But they are disparaging this kind of research. I don't know why. I know why, but I can explain the reason why. Anyway, the knowledge, there should be a thirst for wisdom knowledge. There should be a thirst for passion. There should be inquisitiveness, foresightedness, adaptability, perseverance. I don't know. There are maybe more requirements to become a very prolific and beneficial researcher or scholar. And another important requirement is the inner vision. You cannot do research by excluding yourself. I don't think so. You do research with yourself. And that research, again, believe or not, this is my point of view, again, disputable one. The research is not there to provide you information about the construct. The research is there to provide you an opportunity to develop yourself. It is an opportunity to develop yourself. The research is not about publication. Guys, the research is not about publication. This is illusion. And I said in the very beginning of my speech that 1 in 10 survives, receives citations. If you take, of course, citation as the success metric, which is, again, I am very critical of it, because when anything becomes a metric, that metric, it spoils what is intends to measure. For example, here in the world that we are in, the success depends on the number of citations or the number of publications that you have, right? And in order to reach or outperform the others, we see thousands of misconducts within the academia, like falsifications, fabrications, retractions, producings, plagiarisms. I don't know, there are too many misconducts. So when you insist measuring success through external measures, like the number of what have you, the publication, then you will have fake publications. That success metric becomes spoiler of what it intends to measure. This is called Campbell's law. Are we going good? You are always nodding your head, but I can't see the rest. Anyway, I'll cut it short because it's almost over an hour now. If you want to discuss these issues, you are more than welcome to contact me through emails, I don't know, maybe through social media, whatever. And I also withdraw myself from publishing because I don't believe in the value of publishing in these so-called elite journals. This doesn't mean that I'm not going to publish, of course. This doesn't mean that the publications are useless. I'm not saying that. Please do not take me wrong. What I'm saying is that the masterpiece is more important. To leave a track or trace behind is more important. And that's why I am trying to publish in unpopular places, unpopular journals. I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing any publication. You can do one publication in Social Science Citation Index journal and 2 publications in other journals. Why not? Well, why do we need to be famous? Again, the crucial question is this. It's of course not about the fame, but there are other things about it.
I think there is a question of Theo. He's our graduate student. Could you read it there, or do you want me to read it? There is Q&A section, if you have seen below the screen.
Dear participants, now you can talk or ask questions. I can read only this one.
Oh, okay, then I'll read it for you. Sir, please, what is your thought on students being asked to present a research topic, for example, and receive approval in principle from a potential supervisor before application and possibly acceptance? Are we not
the screen? Maybe you can see from there. Can you see?
I can see only swimming guy.
Let me continue with it. Are we not asking students to adjust their thinking to align with that of potential supervisors rather than having a thinking and approach of our own, the freedom? I mean, due to this, students will just write up proposals and statements that will align with that of a potential supervisor so that they're accepted. What do we do? The frustration and constant rejection due to this is too much. Some universities even reject you because of where you schooled, and they do not know your school or supervisors, your professors and university citation success rates, etc. So much to talk about. What do we do?
Is this a question? This is a reality put in the form of question. I would like to thank this. Theo was the name? Was it?
Theo.
Theo, yeah, great question, but this is not the question. I think you know the answer. And from my point of view, what we are doing is, I am not saying it is wrong, but I am just criticizing because we behave as if it is the only way. There are more than thousands of ways for helping people develop, including the PhD students. And I believe there is this kind of a trinity of servitude to the supervisor, hegemonic epistemology, and the institutional bureaucracy. And what we do is to pressurize these guys, okay, the PhD candidates, to pressurize them to produce before they are ripe enough. So they are producing more premature articles, views, opinions. And instead of doing that, can't we say those people, take your time, son, and deepen your knowledge. You don't need to publish anything. Why don't we allocate that time and give him the time to deepen in the knowledge instead of do premature publications? What is the use of it? And my back question to him as well. The only thing is that this is, when you look at the Darwinian constructs, okay, there is this interesting concept of memes. I don't know whether you have ever heard of it, the memes, okay. The memes is, the memes is there, it's not there because it is right. It is there because it is instrumental. You see my point? The means is not there because it is true. It is there because it is useful. So basically, for example, research paradigms, ideas, formations, activities, priorities, code of research practices that govern how to conduct research and how to publish. Again, my point is, like, I don't know, there are always orders and rules, but I was lucky to attend the English prep school, and I did learn English there, and I was lucky to practice it in my work life as within the hospitality and tourism sector. And I remember those times of my lecturers spending how many hours, I don't know, this grammar is wrong, that grammar is wrong, you have to do it in the grammatical order, vice versa. I don't know, there were too many grammatical rules, and they were fighting with one another, you know, ideologically. There was no, there was always a controversy over the rule. No, you say this way, you can use it. No, the other says this way. Anyway, when I had the chance to attend this postgraduate school in Cardiff, the first thing that I realized that the people were not attending to any grammatical rules, but they were understanding one another so well. The language itself is chaotic. Why trying to bring order to it? The positivism means conformism. Means we are scared of uncertainty. I hope this may constitute an answer, but it is quite, again, very good question. I thank him for this brave question. And actually, what we are doing is we are suppressing any kind of fundamental novelty that might come from a PhD student. We are suppressing it. And they are, the PhD candidates are, it's not here just in Turkey, but maybe more contagious and applicable around the world. They are subversive to their PhD advisors. They are. And the current system openly forces PhD candidates to concentrate on turning out publishable papers instead of using student years, again, to repeat myself, to deepen and broaden their knowledge. And these institutions are, from my point of view, guilty. Because they are killing novelty, they are killing generosity, they are killing creativity, they are killing almost everything. What they are doing is, they are trying to produce docile individuals the conformity, obedience, complacency, what PhD is. Sum up what I think about PhD. Again, these institutions, they are built for fostering critical thinking, aren't they? They are therefore fostering critical thinking. This is the basic ingredient of being a researcher, isn't it, Gökçe? Critical thinking. But these institutions turn into very institutions catering to the research economy by producing docile individuals, adopting either deductive or inductive approach as the absolute way of reasoning. There is no absolute. There is no absolute. You teach them, you take either inductive approach, reasoning, you teach them, you take either deductive reasoning, but what about abductive reasoning? Why don't we teach this? Why don't we are teaching to produce knowledge. This is technical knowledge. Why don't we teach them to ponder over phronosis? Wise knowledge. The PhD period is the period where this false consciousness or suppressed consciousness onto our candidates. Okay, the false consciousness is a concept by Marx, by Engels, but the PhD resembles a period, from my point of view. I don't teach PhD students, by the way. I stopped it back in 2012, I guess. I don't believe in it. The PhD, from my point of view, resembles a period in which one thinks in the form of another, that one becomes heteronomous in terms of adopting the thought patterns, value orientations, and ideal position of others. It is like state is in 16th century. We are producing this false consciousness. This is complex, the production, but once it is created, it is kind of imperialist due to it is dedicated disciples who are not questioning the consciousness that they have, but not knowing it is false, but doing it anyway. And there are also other types, Gökçe. They know that consciousness is false. They know, for example, inconclusive, premature publications is really bad, but they still continue doing it. So there are two types here. I think the educational curriculum in terms of developing a PhD candidate is the major reliable body. Because they are inculcating evaluating things in research. So that's why at some time during their career, they will experience some kind of confrontations because the inner knows that that is wrong. The inner knows that questionnaire is wrong. It is not the best of ways collecting data. The inner knows, but the outer suits what the false consciousness demands from. So there is a very big likelihood of confrontation with false consciousness. But when does it start? One can only embark on criticism of the PhD mind only when that individual has abundant ways of thinking that disable him from properly grasping the objective world around. This is my overall statement. And again, what I'm going to say is that look at the history, okay? Maybe the audience is very familiar with dynamic integral theory of Beck and Cohen. They analyze like 200,000 of years, okay? And there they found that there are 8 levels of consciousness. We can apply, for example, in my argument, I did apply this basic concept to spectrum of consciousness that I did try to create. There are like achiever self, sensitive self, I don't know, the rule self, impulsive self, and their concentration is different. What they concentrate is different from one another. For example, the instinctive self or the instinctive consciousness entering in the academia will rely on basic instincts to survive and serve in the academy. They will sometimes be on the top of the water, and at other times, they will be beneath the wave, struggling to come up for air. As the academia is an uncharted territory, due to endless power games, turf wars, mudslidings, peer hostility, they will experience this. There is no way of escaping. They may place higher value, this instinctive consciousness may place higher value on establishing strong political ties or links, strategic alliances to put themselves in touch with key scholars, gatekeepers, leading stars, or academic celebrities in the field. But impulsive self, on the other hand, will be power-driven. The ruler self, on the other hand, will be order-driven. The achiever self will be success-driven. The sensitive self will be people-driven and egalitarian, maybe. But again, these are all about the individual. But what is the purpose of one in life? It's not the individual only, but the others. So there are 2 more selves that Beck and Cohen suggest, including integral and holistic self. They prioritize knowledge, does not rush and compete for premature publications, steps back and grasp the big picture and take other people into account with a word-centric approach. I am just finalizing here. I know there are too many other issues that we can touch on, but I would prefer maybe the next time, but I would prefer interactive seminars so that I can see people. I can see only Duygu and Gökçe here.
Actually, they can talk now or ask a question. That I allow them to talk if you wish.
What I'm saying is that there comes a time when we understand or we come to realize that the mainstream research is very limited in the provision of a complete and accurate picture of human experience. It is indeed insufficient in moving and impelling to lead to subsequent actions by those who read and resonate the findings. Let's face it. If we are doing research and it's not making any change, then why we are doing research? We have to stop putting gas for glory, vanity, and getting credits higher than science. This is wrong, and we may change our focus from measuring to sensing. We must, I shouldn't be saying must, but it is an instinctive thing to think in must, is that the methodologies are distancing, for example. The method, I did really lose faith in self-defeating mechanical norms and formulaic approaches. I don't know how you feel it. The science was against orthodox religion. Now the science has itself turned into a religion with orthodox traditions and rules. See, there are always rules that we need to follow. Why? For example, can't I find anything? True introspection. True self-inquiry. Why shouldn't I? Why should I dissect, break, deconstruct, synthesize, and rebuild? Why should I? The competition there, selfishness is there, loneliness is there, standardization and uniformity is there. Is it? These are the foundations of conventional way of research. Of course, they have paved the way for prioritizing quantification and material values in lieu of human elements. This needs revolution. This needs revolution because we need to pursue wisdom knowledge, providing a deep insight and a sound judgment in the fundamental issues of life, not business sector only. So we have to rebalance between self-interest, the interest of others, and the contextual interest to achieve a common good. You shouldn't be after of personal good. Okay, if you have any questions, I may have. Basically, there is this journal called Seyahat ve Otel İşletmeciliği dergisi. I thank them a lot because they give me opportunity to express my opinions there. And this academic journey staff, which I have been trying to talk right now, is there in Turkish. But if anyone really has a keen interest, I can send a sort of an executive summary in English to those laughing, because what I believe is, Gökçe, the researcher, as a researcher, we can never know everything that is necessary to determine the best decision in the present, to perfectly well predict the future, or to be 100% sure about why things happened the way they did in the past. Let's not fool ourselves. What? Instead, I'm not saying this is wrong, but it has its era. Now we have to move on to something else. What I'm saying is, there should be a new generation of research which should address at least, 5 critical issues. Like, we have to bear in mind to what extent does the research inquiry that we are doing provide a scope and a depth for general and specific knowledge about matters of research. This is the first one. And the second one, we have to be very careful to what extent does the research that we are doing consider and identify means to achieve its recommendations. We just recommend, but whether those recommendations come to life is not our problem, but it should be our problem. Providing recommendation is really that easy. And the third issue, I believe, when we are doing research, we have to be very careful as to what extent does the research consider and address the inherent. This is inherent. You cannot say that this is not existing. This is inherent. The inherent thing is the uncertainty of life and its influence on future research matters. Science without wisdom is the main problem. This is what I'm saying. Then I expect kind of an increase in the investment to wisdom intelligence. Look, analytical intelligence can carry you to some point. Emotional intelligence can carry you to some point. But these two are useless if you do not have the deeper knowledge. And that is the area of spiritual intelligence or wisdom intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this valuable, insightful, and fruitful presentation. It was a very interesting topic. I really support all your opinions and agree with your statements. Thank you very much once again for your presentation. Does anyone have any question for Professor Yüksel?
You can share with them the email details if you can.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just an hour drive from Izmir, so I can pop in anytime they want.
Okay, thank you very much then. By the way, I would also thank to the participants who are here with us listening to this valuable seminar. Then see you later again.
See you again.